Good morning. The king of pop is dead. Thousands of fans have kept a vigil all night as they mourn Michael Jackson. An American icon who burst onto the pop scene as a child. And climbed into the stratosphere of superstardom like no other artist before him. Michael Jackson, dead at the age of 50. We'll look back at his unmatched musical legacy and eccentric life today, Friday, June 26, 2009.
From NBC News, this is a special edition of Today, the death of Michael Jackson, with Matt Lauer, live in Studio 1A, and Meredith Vieira, live in Los Angeles.
And good morning, everyone. Welcome to a special edition of Today on a very somber Friday morning. I'm Matt Lauer in New York.
And I am Meredith Vieira in Los Angeles, outside of Grauman's Chinese Theater, where the mourners are streaming by his star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame. You can see it behind me, all the flowers and the candles lit in tribute to Michael. And the tributes are pouring in around the world this morning, from Michael's boyhood home in Gary, Indiana, to the Jackson family home in Encino, California, and as far away as London, England, where he was planning his comeback tour to begin there. The people are simply in a state of shock over Michael Jackson's death, Matt.
All right, Meredith, let's tell people what we know at this point. The 50-year-old was in Los Angeles rehearsing for a series of upcoming shows. They would have been his first live concert since back in 2001. Some felt they were a chance at a comeback he desperately needed. Michael Jackson went into cardiac arrest at his home in Holmby Hills, where his personal doctor tried to resuscitate him. Those attempts failed, and Michael Jackson was rushed to UCLA Medical Center, where he was pronounced dead about an hour later, Meredith.
Matt, Jackson's body is at the Los Angeles County Coroner's Office this morning, where an autopsy is planned for later today to determine the exact cause of death. Just ahead, we will talk about the circumstances surrounding his death with the longtime attorney for the Jackson family, who was with some of them at the hospital.
Also, we're going to look back, Meredith, at his remarkable career, and it was remarkable. And also, you have to talk about his unusual life. First of all, 750 million albums sold, 13 Grammy Awards. That Thriller album smashed global sales records. The videos he created to go along with his songs were revolutionary. And we're going to have much more on all of that throughout the morning, Meredith.
And also, Matt, we're going to be talking about Michael Jackson's death, of course, just as the Hollywood community was absorbing the news of the death of Farrah Fawcett, who lost her long and very public battle with cancer on Thursday. Two icons who defined their times, gone in one day. We will honor their legacies this morning. Let's begin with the tragic, untimely death of Michael Jackson. NBC's Lee Cowan is outside the LA County Coroner's Office with the very latest. Lee, good morning to you.
Well, good morning to you, Meredith. As you might imagine, this all moved very, very quickly yesterday. It was a very short drive from the home that Michael Jackson was renting near Beverly Hills to UCLA's medical center, but it appeared it was already too late. He was already in cardiac arrest when the paramedics arrived there, and before they took him on the way to the hospital. As you say, the autopsy will be performed here at the LA County Coroner's Office later on today to determine exactly what led to the pop star's untimely death. The race to save the king of pop was a valiant one. Pictures show the paramedics' frantic efforts during that 6-minute drive to UCLA's medical center. And once Michael Jackson arrived, his brother Jermaine says no one gave up.
A team of doctors, including emergency physicians and cardiologists, attempted to resuscitate him for a period of more than 1 hour, and they were unsuccessful.
Jackson's attorney was there with the family and could barely put their reaction into words.
Went up to him, we hugged, we cried. We couldn't even speak to one another.
Jackson's body was choppered from UCLA to USC and then was unceremoniously loaded into a van and driven to the LA County Coroner's Office. The LAPD said it assigned its robbery and homicide division to investigate, but cautioned there was no hint of any wrongdoing.
Robbery homicide was assigned to this because of the high-profile nature of it. Don't read into anything as it relates to my team being here.
As the news spread, fans spontaneously joined together, many outside the Jackson family home in Encino, California. These dancers were set to rehearse with Jackson Thursday, but learned of his death instead.
He's such the best entertainer that I know, and because of him I came to America.
The sidewalk outside the hospital quickly became a memorial too, a strange mix of grieving for a loss and celebrating a unique brand of music. At the Apollo Theater, where Jackson first performed with his brothers back in 1969, fans poured into the streets. The Reverend Al Sharpton gave an impromptu eulogy, remembering a talented life, but an equally controversial one.
He talked about how many people had let him down, but I told him it didn't matter. He had never let the fans down.
Jackson had rehearsed only Wednesday at the Staples Center in downtown LA. He was preparing for a strenuous 50-concert tour in London next month. Some questioned his physical readiness for such an endeavor, and there had been rumors that his addiction to prescription drugs had returned. But for those who hadn't seen the reclusive Jackson in a while, when he announced his comeback back in March, many said he looked healthier than he'd been in a long time.
This is it. This is really it. This is the fight. This is the final curtain call.
But he never got the chance to take that final bow. Now again, the autopsy on Michael Jackson's body expected to be performed later on today. It's expected to also include a toxicology study, Meredith, so it could be some time before we know for sure. Meredith.
Lee, thank you very much. Brian Oxman is an attorney and also a family friend of the Jacksons. He was at the hospital yesterday when Michael passed away. Thank you so much for joining us, Brian. Again, we're so sorry.
It is my pleasure, Meredith.
For your loss. When did you first hear that something had happened to Michael?
I got a call from Randy Jackson's assistant.
Randy is his brother.
Randy is the youngest of the Jackson brothers. She told me that he was being taken to the hospital. I called Randy. I said, Randy, what's happening? He says, Brian, I don't know. I'm on the way to the hospital. I said, I'll see you there. And he said, this is serious. And then we hung up. I got to the hospital. Randy came a few minutes later. He walked in. We just hugged one another, and we cried in the emergency entrance. He couldn't speak, and I couldn't speak, Meredith. It was just devastating. He went into the next room. Jermaine came. I hugged Jermaine. I said, Jermaine. And he couldn't talk. He had tears running down his cheeks. And I knew what had happened. And then he went into the back room.
There has to be something quite surreal about that moment for all of you.
These people have been my friends, Meredith. I've known them for 20 years. I was there when their children were born. I was there when the ex-wives passed away, which was a terrible experience. And now I'm here when Michael passes away. They are my friends. I feel very connected to them. I've defended them under the most adverse of circumstances because they were righteous, they were true, they were honest, and Michael never, ever committed a crime. He was innocent.
I want to talk to you about that because that trial in 2005 where he had been accused of child molestation and he was found not guilty of that. But do you think that took a lasting toll on him?
Oh, my goodness, Meredith, without question. It took a toll on me, and I am just trying to recover. I think hopefully now I am. I know that Michael was feeling that he is now recovering from that because he was an innocent man accused of such evil doings, and it bothered both of us. It bothered all of us. The result of it was that it took a long time, and he now was just starting to smile. He was starting to get back into the world of performing and entertainment. By gum, he was getting it together, and we were kind of proud of that.
But I know, Brian, you were also concerned. You talked about it publicly, about him possibly over-medicating, that he was on painkillers. Talked to the family about that. We do not know what caused his death, and I'm not trying to suggest that had anything to do with it, but did that cross your mind when you were in the hospital?
It was more than crossing my mind, Meredith. I had warned everyone. I said, one day we're going to have this experience. And when Anna Nicole Smith passed away, I said, we cannot have this kind of thing with Michael Jackson. The result was I warned everyone, and lo and behold, here we are. I don't know what caused his death, but I feared this day, and here we are.
Brian Oxman, we really appreciate your time here this morning. Again,
Meredith,
so sorry
thank you
for your
so
loss.
very much.
Thank you so much. We're going
left things a bit open-ended, you know, which is always hard.
Yeah, absolutely. Corey, thank you so much for your time this morning. Corey Feldman. I'm going to throw it back to you now, Matt.
All right, Meredith, thank you very much. The exact cause of Jackson's death will not be known until an autopsy is performed. That could happen later today. Dr. Nancy Snyderman is NBC's chief medical editor. Roger Friedman is a senior correspondent for The Hollywood Reporter and has covered Michael Jackson for a lot of years. Good morning to both of you.
Hi, Matt. Good morning.
Nancy, let me start with you. Cardiac arrest. This is a massive heart attack. It sounds like, but we don't know yet.
Massive heart attack, and the first reports were that by the time the paramedics came, he was already cool to the touch. Sounds like it was a catastrophic, massive heart attack, and when he arrived at the hospital, already dead.
Some people are pointing to this idea. Jermaine Jackson said this in front of the camera, said that his personal physician was there when this happened, and they're looking at that as perhaps being a clue, but it could also be a coincidence, couldn't it?
Well, we don't know. Sketchy reports. First, no doctor there, then there was a doctor there, then reports this morning that a doctor may have injected him with a painkiller. So I don't think we have all the pieces. We need a real cohesive timeline to be able to put this part together.
And we've just heard someone speaking to Meredith say there were fears on his part that perhaps prescription drugs were a problem here. That will be determined, could be determined in an autopsy.
I mean, we know during his last trial that it was talked about that there were narcotics in his bedside stand. These are tough addictions to kick, and it would have been a phenomenal strain on him and his lean body and his heart to be going through these arduous rehearsals if he were on narcotics, which are, you know, downers. And the cause it might have had in this, very easy to know from tissue and blood samples during the autopsy. We'll find out the answer to this.
Roger, you were just saying to me during the beginning of the show that he had been through a rehearsal, I believe Wednesday. You said Wednesday night.
At the Staples Center.
And everybody thought it was a great rehearsal, and he seemed to be in great form, so it's got to be even more shocking that this happens a day later.
Yeah, it really is, because my reports for the last several weeks was that he really wanted to make these shows work in London, that he was working hard, and I'm a little surprised when I'm hearing reports, you see it in the tabloids and that kind of thing, which you must disregard, that he was frail or wasn't up to the task of doing this, because he was doing it. He was going to rehearsals. He was very excited. He was working with dancers. He had to make this work two ways. One was financially. He needed it desperately. And the other was he wanted to show his kids one last time what he did for a living.
You talk about what his financial situation. What emotional strain did that place on Michael over these last several years?
Well, you would think it would place a big strain on you and me, but we're talking about hundreds of millions of dollars. So when I say he was down to his last $20 million, right, which for Michael Jackson was not much because he spent a lot.
But you see, that is the number that has struck me over this last day. It said he was in debt to the amount of $400 million. How does an individual get in debt to that's what an airline loses. That's not what an individual is in debt.
Well, starting in 1994, when there was the first child molestation accusation, and he had to settle with that child and his family, that was about $20 or $21 million. And then it snowballed from there. More people sued him, more settlements came. He was borrowing heavily against his half ownership in the Beatles catalog, and he used that as leverage, and it kept getting worse and worse. Also, you have to remember, as the years went by, his career was not always Thriller. He didn't always sell 22 million albums.
He had a couple of disappointing albums.
He had disappointing albums, and, you know, as time goes by, albums weren't selling, CDs came in, then downloading, and everybody's sales went down. So he was always in need of replenishing that Thriller lifestyle.
Real quickly, what's going to be left for his children? He's got 3 children. What will they inherit?
This will be interesting because, first of all, no one can find a will. Nobody knows what lawyer has it. This man who you had on this morning, Brian Oxman, is not Michael Jackson's lawyer. Should not be speaking for him. Michael Jackson's lawyer is in Atlanta, and his name is Joel Katz. He's with a firm called Greenberg Traurig. And as far as I know, they don't have the will. So there's going to be a big search for that now to see who gets what and how they're going to dispose of the estate.
Roger, thanks. Good to see you. Appreciate it. Nancy, as always. Nice to have you here. 17 minutes after the hour, let's go back to Meredith.
Matt, thank you very much. News of Michael Jackson's death came just hours after the world learned that Farrah Fawcett had lost her hard-fought battle with cancer. The 62-year-old actress and former Charlie's Angels, the all-American girl, spent her life redefining herself and her career. This is the Farrah Fawcett we are most likely to remember, the all-American sweetheart. A Texas gal from Corpus Christi, Farrah was voted best looking in high school, and it was a beauty that caught the eye of casting directors.
Mother never told me about Ultra Bright.
And it was Farrah's beauty that sold a generation of boys on that now iconic poster, and eventually won her the role that launched her career, Jill in Charlie's Angels.
What denomination are you, little lady?
35, 24, 35.
Farrah and her hair became a phenomenon.
And then when I take it down, I just go like this, and that's what it does.
But Farrah wanted more, she explained on the Today Show in 1979.
I would like to be very successful in films, hopefully being taken seriously as a dramatic actress.
Around the same time, Farrah divorced actor Lee Majors and began a lifelong relationship with actor Ryan O'Neal. And Farrah did become the serious actress.
I ran for my life. I ran for the life of my kids.
Her starring role as an abused wife in The Burning Bed and a rape victim fighting back in extremities earned her awards and acclaim.
Kiss me.
A master of reinvention, at age 50, Farrah posed for Playboy, making it one of their best-selling issues.
Such a shockingly sad day.
But Farrah's most important role may have been that of a cancer patient in an ultimately losing battle.
Cancer is my own private war.
For the past 3 years, videotaping her fight in an extraordinarily intimate documentary, the chemo, the surgeries, and all too often, the disappointments.
I'm sorry to give you some not great news. We win. We'll win. We will.
By her side, Ryan O'Neal.
She may have believed that she would survive and have a film document.
She wanted to share her journey with people and, you know, just sort of give people the message to keep fighting.
It was a fight that cost her the hair that once so defined her.
Back here was like just a dark, dark spot.
And on camera bid her son Redmond goodbye.
When one day you wake up and realize that I'm gone, I will still be there. Always. Always with you.
By her side at the end, 3 close friends and Ryan O'Neal, tearful as he left the hospital. And he released this statement. We take comfort in the beautiful times that we shared with Farrah over the years and the knowledge that her life brought joy to so many people around the world. Her Charlie's Angel co-star Jaclyn Smith wrote, "Now she has peace as she rests with the real angels." And America's fair-haired angel explained how she wanted to be remembered.
I'm the girl who always believed in change. Never picking the obvious path, but the path that was a little bit risky, definitely scary, but sure to be full of challenges, rewards, and change, for better or worse.
And Farrah is survived by her son Redmond and her partner Ryan O'Neal. And Matt, it's really devastating to think that we lost 2 entertainment icons in the same day, one who battled for so long to hold on to her life, and the other whose life was taken so unexpectedly, Matt.
You know, it's actually been a terrible week, Meredith, when you think we also lost Ed McMahon this week, another icon from the entertainment world. Obviously, that was a surprising loss, and Farrah Fawcett not surprising. I listened to people yesterday struggle to put into context the death of Michael Jackson, and so many talked about his music and his talent and his legacy, and then, of course, there were the other sides of his life, and they were trying to find a balance between the two. It may take some time to actually figure out a way to do that.
Absolutely. You know, it's interesting, too, the folks that were here at this makeshift memorial around his star, some were very quiet and lighting candles, but there were others who were celebratory and actually playing his music in tribute to him. So it was an interesting mix of people here. Matt, I want to make a difficult turn at this point and get a check of the weather from Al this morning, who is in Charlotte, North Carolina for us. Good morning to you, Al.
Well, good morning, guys. A very difficult morning, obviously, for friends, family, and fans of 3 really entertainment giants. Somebody told me there's a saying, the elderly, the sick, and the sudden, and this week we saw the deaths of all 3. That's what's going on around the country. Here's what's happening in your neck of the woods. We're here in Charlotte to end up our Lend a Hand Today tour week. Obviously a much more subdued version. We'll tell you about what we're doing a little bit later. Meredith?
Al, thank you so much. And still to come, we're going to have much more on the life and death of Michael Jackson, including his musical legacy, and what will happen to his 3 young children. But first, this is Today on NBC.
Let's hear your pitch.
Here we are. I think we're all pretty psyched about this commercial. In this spot, you're a gymnast.
Gymnast?
Yep, you're a gymnast.
The Olympic tie-in.
You're in a peacock unitard. That's the point. So you're doing a floor routine, flips and splits. You stick the landing, and the judges all hold up. 10, right? Because your show's at 10. Uh-oh, except the Russian judge. What's up? Sour grape guy. He holds up 9 Central. Gold medal comedy, Jay Leno.